Howdy, guys. Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live, and a lot of people love this part because for 5 to 7 minutes, you get to call in, free consultation. You get to ask any question you want about Social Security disability law. But the thing is this, you have to go ahead and keep it short, like 5 to 7 minutes. You have to use a fake name throughout the process and ... If you need additional time, you can always do that hiring thing where you basically email the firm for the hour where you can buy an hour of time. Really simple. It's a one-page contract. I tried to make it as easy as possible. The number one thing people are using that for is to help me fill out with them their 3373 form, which is like their adult functional form. So I never thought that would be the reason why, but that seems to be a recurring thing over and over again. But we've already got our first caller on the phone. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to run hearing questions with you, or would you like me to go ahead and answer a specific question? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alexis. If you could please answer a specific question.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
My daughter is currently 19, and she became disabled a couple of years ago. She had a aneurysm and an AVM.
Mm-hmm.
And my question now is, since I myself am disabled, I'm looking towards the future, and I'm a little bit stuck between two accounts. I do have a home that I would like to put in trust, but I've been told that the difference between a special needs and an able account, and I've heard good and bad in one versus the other, and I'm a little bit hesitant as to which way to go.
Okay, so the big thing you have to consider is what is the actual mass worth of the assets? How much are you going to be putting in each year versus how much do you intend to have in total into these trusts? And then also, is the child on DAC benefits since one of her parents is, disabled?
When you say she is on, yes, she is.
Okay, so she's on like SSI and DAC or SSDI and DAC? Yes. Okay, cool.
She's basically on SSI.
Okay. So what I've been looking for is somebody to give me some factors by email as to what their expectations are for how much per year they're going to put into this trust fund, what their intention is for the maximum amount to have at the end of the day for this trust fund, because, there's limitations to the max amount, right. What their expectations are with their house, because there's always that Medicaid issue. So what I would say is this, I think the best way for me to handle this particular question is if you can send me an email, and I've gotten this question before about like, what do I choose? An able account trust, a special needs trust, a traditional trust? If you can send me what you want to do and like two hypotheticals, like one where you go one way, one the other way. And what I need to have in that is specifically what you're going to be putting into it as your initial, amount. Then basically, and remember, you don't have to limit it just by what the statute is and what the allowable amount is for a particular trust. Like, give me what you want it to do. And then what I'll do is I'll do a video where I explain why each hypothetical would allow you to do certain things or not do certain things and which would be better. Because I've been meaning to make a video about trust funds. And then the other video I was actually supposed to do tonight, but I was too tired to do it, was about blindness and being able to freeze essentially your earnings. But the point is, that is a much larger video where we go into what are the child's needs, how are the impairments going to go ahead and evolve, is the child at any point likely to get better, what happens to these funds if the child is facing a terminal situation for, does the child have any kids, will the child ever be able to have kids, because that's where this is really going, not just her generation but the next one. So
correct.
And
that's a big concern of mine.
Yeah.
Because I've heard so much differences that, if you put it in this account, technically you're only putting it in that account to be used for if she needs for health reasons and other reasons, and you can't use it if she just wants to use it for something that is not beyond health. And so I'm like, okay. And so I'm just very confused with that, because I would like, if she needed it for, if she got better and she was able to drive and wanted to buy a car, is one account did versus the other account does not allow her to buy a car. Those are things like that I'm unsure of. So that would be great. I will go ahead and do that.
Perfect. Set that up. I'm actually going to be going up to New Jersey pretty soon, so I can work on that script when I'm driving up. But yeah, put that together because I've been meaning to do a trust fund video. I just haven't had the time, and trust funds have changed a little bit over the past 7 years. So some people who have trust funds back in the day, like I have to go into the history of it too, because some of the new stuff that's out really changes the way that not only trust funds are built and delivered, but also the way judges are handling them when they go to court. Because there's another thing too, which is I think the thing that kind of kept me from making a trust fund video to begin with, because I wanted to incorporate what judges do when they have to, yeah, dismantle a trust. And like a lot of people are like, what do you mean dismantle a trust? Well, it happens all the time. Judges have to dismantle a trust as a result of some occurrence that happens. And you better believe it, disabled people and their trusts, that does happen. That does become an issue. So send me your thoughts, send me some hypos, and then I'll make it into a full video. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Okay, well, thank you for all your time.
Thank you,
You
madam.
have a good night. Take care.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So the thing, guys, is this. My eyes look super bloodshot. I'm super tired because I was up until 5. So I don't have my usual, like, super excited. Oh, my goodness. I'm beat. I'm really beat. I was doing accounting. It was like 5,000 transactional metrics that had to be categorized. And I did that over the past 3 days. My body isn't reacting well. Here's the next call. Hold on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you? Go ahead.
A specific question. Shalom, good sir.
Howdy,
This
good sir.
is
Shalom.
Ronald McDonald.
Very good.
And a short setup for my question. I was able to find an attorney, an experienced attorney in my state to help with my SSDI appeal. But as I signed his paperwork and I received copies for my files, I realized that he didn't put his signature on his paperwork. So my question is, what is the efficacy of his contract agreement with me going to be with the SSA?
So a lot of attorneys do that. The big thing is this. So when you sign it and then send it off to them, they then go ahead and send you an immediate copy before the attorney gets a chance to sign it. Because, it's one of those documents where the attorney like actually has to sign it. But the bottom line is that he'll sign it and then his back office will submit it to the local field office. And, if you're already at DDS, he'll send it to the DDS group as well. But they will have, a fully effectuated 1696 fee agreement and 1693 at the local field office when they receive it. I mean, if you wanted one with his signature on it, you could always just ask them for the updated one with his signature on it. But the bottom line is he will sign it. He'll personally, sit there and sign it. Or to be again, another thing that they do is that they have a lot of their, clerks, or not clerks, but their legal receptionists go ahead and just sign their name for them, and then submit it into the local field office. But they're not supposed to do that. Like, you're not supposed to have your local field office or your local, the person, your receptionist, go ahead and sign on your behalf. But basically, if he didn't sign it and they sent you a copy of it, he will probably sign it very shortly thereafter himself. Well, how many days went by between you requesting a copy of your forms?
Well, when I went to meet with him just a few days ago, last week, and I was in his office as he looked over my shoulder to help me file his paperwork, I signed it and then requested a copy before I left his office. But when I got home to overlook it, to review it, that's when I noticed that he didn't have a signature on his paperwork.
Okay, so in that case, I would call his receptionist and ask if they submitted the documentation to the SSA local field office with his signature on it, because they could have messed up. And, keep in mind, when you're doing an initial filing, A270,000 BK 16 BK, you got your 3368, your 1696, 1693, your fee agreement. And those are the basics, but all those require a ton of signatures, especially the 1696. It's 4 pages of the same, social upper left-hand corner and blah, blah, blah. So what I would say is I would reach out to, essentially that group and ask them specifically if they did submit his signature with it, because what will happen is it will slow down the claim, and then he won't be able to receive documentation when they send it out. So you'll get notice, but he won't get notice because they won't have a properly completed 1696 on file. Now, which form was the one that he didn't sign? Was it the 1696 or the 1693?
Well, we haven't made it that far yet.
Okay. Like, how far are you?
The Social Security fee agreement, there's no signature on. The authorization for the medical release records isn't signed.
Well, that's the basics. That's step one. The 827, that's got to go in with the initial filing. That allows the SSA to buy records on behalf of the claimant. 1696 allows appointment of representation. That's so the attorney can talk to the SSA, access the ERE. 1693, make sure that the attorney gets paid the proper amount under the statute rules and regulations. Fee agreement is the pool rules that the attorney lays out for you to go ahead and work with him or her. The 8000 BK is the SSI application. The 16 BK is the SSDI application. The 3368 is the, step 2, which is where you went for medical, what jobs have you had, stuff like that. But so what have you gotten? Which forms have been fully completed at this time?
Well, essentially, no forms have been completed yet. I did receive the. I'm looking as quick as I can here, Mr. Walter. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, of course. Take your time. Yeah.
Medical source statement that I'm to take to my neurologist on my next follow-up visit for her to fill out all the information, and then once that's returned, then the process will resume. But you did mention something very important for me to call in, reach into them, and inquire about: are they going to make the signatures on the documents that they send to the SSA? That's most important.
I have a question for you. Did he sign you up with limitations, meaning that when he agreed to your representation, did he agree to representation so long as you showed him the residual functional capacity physician statement ahead of time? Because sometimes claimants will be in the gray area, and the attorneys will wait to see what the RFC letter will look like from the doctor before they go ahead and sign them up. So is this a situation where he made any reference to requiring that physician statement prior to representation?
Yes, I believe the latter. He's waiting for my physician statement before he moves forward.
Okay. So in that case, now we know why. All right, let's, okay. Don't give me the exact age, but give me a number around your age. What is your fake age?
Well, I am under 50 and over 47.
Okay. That was good. That was very good. Give me, okay. With that said, what are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions?
Well, the number 1 is my seizure disorder.
Okay.
Number 2 would be lumbar issues, cervical issues.
Okay. We need a 3, 4, and 5. So we got seizures and back.
Asthma.
Yep.
Asthma would be 1, perhaps, and I guess just growing old in my middle-aged years, my body meat is dissipating as I grow, so I'm getting thinner.
Okay. All right, we got seizures, we got lumbar, cervical, asthma, loss of body mass. Why do you have loss of body mass? Is it lack of movement? I mean, people tend to get a little chubbier when that happens.
Well, I guess I notice as I walk around on my feet, the meat between my feet and my heel bone is dissipating and starting to push into the heel bone. And especially when I sit down as well, my sacrum, my coccyx bone is pressing into the seat. And I need one of those donut-shaped cushions now.
Wait a minute. So this is not, okay, so we're missing an impairment here then. There's some sort of diagnostic impression that should be part of this. Because if you're losing the cushioning of your body, right, because most people gain weight when they've got a lumbar or cervical issue because they're sitting all the time. If you're losing cushioning, then there's some other impairment that we're not talking about here. What is the background with the seizures? I know you don't know why the seizures are happening, but give me a little background.
Well, my first seizure was in 2012. I was rushed to the hospital in the EMT squad and kept for 3 days of observation.
Gotcha.
And then from there put on carbamazepine for 8 years. Was taking high levels of it up to 2,000 milligrams a day,
wow.
which shouldn't have been over 1,200. I continued that for 8 years. And during those 8 years, I had suffered many auras, tonic-clonic seizures, generalized and focal seizures, very few grand mal seizures. But then after last year's laser ablation surgery, all of the auras and tonic-clonic seizures have decreased greatly from, let's say, 20 to 30 a week to maybe 2 or 3 a month, although I have suffered more grand mal seizures in the last year.
Well, that's not good. That's going in the wrong direction. All right. So there might be something there. Talk to me about lumbar and cervical. Was there trauma to the body, car accident? What happened there?
Yes, lumbar was due to a skateboard injury many years ago. And my cervical issues, I believe, may have been caused by this I had a grand mal seizure riding my bicycle. I can't drive anymore. And I fell on my bicycle, hit the ground. And when I went to the ER for an x-ray, they showed that I had cervical damage. And that was just last year, September 10th.
I feel like there's something about a cardiovascular issue that you're not telling me about. So what am I missing here? Is there a blood condition? Is there some sort of heart valve? What am I missing here? Is there a bone density issue? What am I missing?
Well, maybe perhaps it's the information I'm missing as well, because I don't have a primary care physician.
Well, that's why he's waiting for the RFC. Yeah.
Medicaid won't do the full blood test, which is like the primary basis to figure out what's wrong with us.
I get the asthma. We got a respiratory. You're having difficulty breathing, which reduces, air capacity. You're not getting as much air into the blood, yada, yada. But for you to be losing body mass, on your pads, which is what I like to call them, then there's something else going on here. The seizures, nobody really knows what's causing them. Now, remember, with the seizures, every time you have a seizure, you have to go to the hospital. Seizures with the Social Security Administration, especially for grand mal seizures, are ring the bell at the hospital. Every time you have one, you go. Whether it's over or not, you go. And the reason why is it's all a numbers game inside the listing for those seizures. And you said you were having 2 to 3 a month, which is great, because that's what they're looking for in the listing criteria. You just have to make sure you go to the hospital each time. Lumbar, cervical, I get the whole skateboarding, bicycle problem. You didn't mention any ambulatory devices, such as a walker, crutch, cane, rollator, anything like that. So I'm guessing you don't use any ambulatory devices, correct?
That is correct. I do not.
Okay, so what that means is that you can stand up from a seated position, correct?
Yes, I can. Not fast, not quickly, but I can. Yes.
So you got top and middle, and then you got body mass loss right above the butt, and on the pads of the feet. What about your hands? Do you have lack of, is the cushiness of your fingers also going away?
Yes, it is, and I've noticed when I grab when I grab a pen or a marker, or when I grab the kitchen faucet sink to turn it on, or a door handle, I notice that it does pain. It goes right to my fingertip in the bone.
All right, so what would cause you to lose body mass from this pile here? I'm still thinking there's a blood condition, because I'm thinking that your body.
I'm taking my notes.
Yeah, and hear me out. So our body, especially the meaty parts of our body, they need oxygen. You look at our organs; those are like the classic meaty parts. You look at our brain, classic meaty part, needs lots of oxygen. So we look at oxygen as our ability to bring it into our body. That's our first cutoff valve. Then we look at basically our lungs. How much can they store? How much can they actually expand? And then we look at what is the conversion rate of our body's ability to convert oxygen into, something that the cells can, take a drive with. And then we look at essentially the, body parts, the organs inside the body, and how well they're going to be able to receive that oxygen. And to me, it just sounds like you're losing body mass because there's some sort of blood issue that's causing you to just slowly waste away. I'm going to ask you a personal question. Bathroom use. Is everything going well with that, or are things not going well with that?
Everything seems to be going well in the bathroom, number one and number two, on a daily basis.
So to me, if you're not having constant diarrhea, I mean, this looks like, I mean, this could be anything. It could be literally, it could be lupus, it could be anything. It could be an autoimmune system, reaction. It could be a blood system reaction. It could be a conversion of some sort of mineral issue. It could be a liver problem. But are you eating? Are you gaining weight? Are you eating different food? Like how is the dietary schedule going?
Well, I eat no fast food. I do not drink soda. The last couple of years, I've been eating peanuts, honey, turkey, canned chicken, multigrain bread, a little bit of rice, noodles. And I quit drinking cow's milk. I've been consuming almond milk and cashew milk lately, which is making me feel really good. And I take protein powder mix that I mix with myself and a multivitamin daily.
Man, I mean, you sound like a commercial for like what you could, sell as a health plan on, YouTube. You sound good. I mean, you're following, like, it's like you sound like what one of those blue zone people do, the Mediterranean kind of diet. Okay. I would really like for you to go to the hospital for a seizure and then tell them about a potential blood issue that you have. Find symptoms, just Google them and look through them, see which ones are something that might be relative to this, because I bet you a shiny nickel there's going to be some sort of metric number that's going to be a little bit too high or a little bit too low. Because if you are losing that much weight, I mean, look, it could be something as weird as a psychological thing of you're just not eating enough calories and, yada, yada. But the way you just rattled off those foods, that's not it. People that are super depressed, when they talk about food, I'm like, hey, what do you like to eat? And they're like, nothing, bread, that's not you. You're multi-grain almond milk. So what do you think the issue is, just from your, because remember, you're the one living in the body. What do you think's going on?
Well, to be quite open, I think that it might have been the 8 or 9 years of the carbamazepine / Tegretol that my first neurologist had me on, of upwards of 2,000 milligrams a day. I also had started feeling some little bits of arrhythmia and pounding heartbeat. And when you go in to see the neurologist, they have you sign this paperwork or fill out this paperwork that says what has changed since your last visit. And I'd always put pounding heartbeat, but it was never discussed. But I've taken the notes here on autoimmune, the blood condition, and conversion rate to oxygen, and go to the hospital after the next seizure and mention to them that as well.
I have a final thought. Do you have, and you sound even keel right now, but do you have any days where you wake up feeling like things are just not going right? Everything is second act, nothing's playing correctly. You're having a hard time moving, you're bumping your toes. Do you have any days like that?
Yes, I do. I call that tilt. Or I might have a couple days of the month where I feel like I'm just on tilt for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day.
Okay. So you're firing on less than all cylinders. You're a little bit off kilter. When you have that feeling, is it something that starts right when you wake up, or is it something that, like, after the first hour you start to notice things?
It's maybe about after 20 minutes after I finally can get up and move around. I drink a full glass of water when I first wake up. I don't even consume coffee for at least 3 hours after I'm completely awake. And then I have a half a lunch meat sandwich.
All right. What are you putting your nickel on? I'm putting my nickel on oxygen being the issue. What are you putting your nickel on?
I am putting my nickel on the oxygen issue as well. I've brought that up to my neurologist. I'd like to get a tank here at home to administer myself, because I realized that when I wake up in the EMT squad after having a seizure, they've got an oxygen mask on me, which really helps bring my brain back to full capacity. But they are arguing against it, and they want me to either have another surgery or switch to the ketogenic diet. And I'm looking at switching to the ketogenic diet, and I'm halfway there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all right. So I've got to take more calls, and I'm going to forgive you for stealing my nickel, but that was, but that was very good. Get checked out. Let me know what the results are. Call in again because I am very curious. Um, and don't be surprised if it turns out to be some weird genetic thing that just historically pops up every 4 generations, down the line. Those tend to be the things that pop up too. And don't be afraid also to look into the psychological aspect of things as well, because our brains do weird things to our bodies. I'll tell you a little side note with me. I always stay away from heavy pain medications because when I take them, I tend to hallucinate. And when I hallucinate, my brain will create scenarios that are horrific. And I'm always worried that my brain will find a way to turn itself off. So, it's one of those weird things where I just stay away from anything of that high a level. But your brain can do amazing things. Now, obviously, seizures can be caused by anything, but one thing that there's not enough knowledge on, I mean, sure, they've studied it, but we have nothing that's truly conclusive on it, is how our brain affects, the seizure sequence and the repetitive nature in which it will, affect it over time. But um, are you open to a brain scan?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. Let me know. I'm curious, but I got to take the next caller. Good sir, have a wonderful, wonderful night, and thank you so much for coming on.
Bless you, sir, and all the listeners and watchers online. And I'm going to take your nickel and turn it into a dime.
There you go. Thank you, good sir. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. That was awesome. That was a really good call because we got to take a moment. And I'm super tired right now, but okay, here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to go ahead and mute it on your end. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. And also, would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you? Go ahead.
Hi, I got through. Is that correct?
Howdy, it's me. How you doing?
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you. So I have a question for you. I know you mentioned that you wanted questions about Social Security disability, but I am a veteran receiving VA benefits.
Sure.
Is this a good opportunity to ask you a question?
Yes, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So basically, I'm a 100% disabled veteran receiving compensation. And I recently pulled my medical records, and I saw a pattern of documentation that was either false or kind of promoting a diagnosis which would not pay out benefits. I have had some experiences which leads to my concerns that I might be being investigated or trying again to change the diagnosis. And I'd like legal assistance for that, and I'm curious if I should be submitting requests to have my medical records corrected. I was also suggested that I apply for SSDI, but I'm a little nervous given what I'm seeing with this pattern with the VA.
Oh, you gotta apply for SSDI because the SSDI will get you. You'll be using outside doctors from the VA. You'll be getting a consultative examination medical expert, basically assigned from the SSA to review. You'll have basically alternative opinions. So you got to do that. You got to file for that. You said 100% plus compensation. No, TDIU, PNT. What are we looking at?
Permanent and total.
Okay, PNT,
yes.
Cool. All right. Talk to me about, you said basically that, okay, so I'm assuming these are all VA doctors that you're seeing, correct?
They have been, and it's been kind of disturbing to see what, but yes, so far it's all been VA.
Okay, so VA people always do this because, it's the free lunch option. You basically go in, they'll treat you. I get why you don't go to, emergency rooms, getting a different PCP, stuff like that. You have to immediately, like tomorrow, search for a PCP that you'd be willing to go ahead and utilize in your area, and then get a specialist for your particular impairment. Which is the impairment that you are on, and which is the impairment that they are trying to steer you towards?
Okay, first question, when you say get my own PCP, you mean pay out of pocket and find a civilian doctor? Yes.
So important.
Okay.
So important. Yeah, and walk me through what's the impairment that you're the diagnostic impression you like versus the one that they're trying to steer you towards.
So I've been diagnosed 100% with PTSD.
Okay.
For MST.
Okay.
And I feel like they're attempting to
they're documenting things that would be symptomatic of borderline personality disorder versus PTSD.
Okay.
Are you familiar with all those things?
Yeah, but I have something that I'm a little worried with this. So here's the deal with the PTSD problem, which for the people who are watching, post-traumatic stress disorder, specifically for individuals who have nightmares and flashbacks. When it comes to that, as you present your information, how do you explain it to your doctor what you're feeling like?
Well, quite frankly, I just spoke freely, and I felt like they would ask leading questions that would kind of change this diagnosis. So I'm not sure what you're asking, but I guess to say strategically, I didn't go in there very guarded,
Okay, so first thing is, I get a lot of claimants, especially the ones from the big box firms, where they're like, I don't know. I just go in there and tell them what's up. And then they write down on their pad what they think is what's up. And then that's what. So PTSD is broken into two basic categories. Let's start with the nightmares. What are the nightmares of?
I would prefer, to be honest with you, to not go into the details, especially could be triggering for others, So I guess I'm interested, like I'm open to hiring you if you feel like you could help.
Sure. So, all right. So what I would say is this, give me a call tomorrow. Keep in mind, I'm doing a half day tomorrow. So I'm going to be there. It's kind of like in the morning, but then later in the day, I'm going to be having staff cover the calls from basically like 1 forward. But give me a call either way. There are some things that I want you to work on. Question number 1, what are the nightmares and flashbacks that you experience as a result of the PTSD? Number 2, why do you feel the borderline personality disorder is what they are trying to diagnose you with? Number 3, what are the current medications that they're prescribing and the side effects that you experience? And number 4, what other diagnostic impairments have you been diagnosed with? And the reason I want to... Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. No, well, can I just touch on the last, two, I would say?
Yeah.
One of them is a great question that I think a lot of people on your channel could appreciate is, a lot of veterans get tired of taking, their meds.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens if you don't take your meds? So that's one question, and the ramifications. Another question is again, I don't want to use VA facility care. So if we don't use that care, does that also lose our chance for benefits to continue? And then the last question you had asked, do you mind repeating that one?
Sure. So basically, what are the other diagnostic impressions, the other impairments? So, PTSD, borderline personality disorder. What about, anxiety as a base function? Because, PTSD is kind of part of anxiety. What about depression? What about panic attacks? Yeah.
Yeah, depression and anxiety for myself.
Okay, gotcha. And then the key thing here is, so if you have a copy of the medical documentation that you're worried about, and you can shoot me an email with that and say, hey, look, here's where they're trying to write it this way. That would be helpful too, because then I can kind of understand, because to be fair, personality disorder is not a massive jump from PTSD, because PTSD can cause personality disorder issues. But it is not like PTSD and anxiety, those go hand in hand, but personality disorder, there is a slight jump to actually get to what that is as per the definition of it. So from my perspective, when it comes to personality disorder, I would be curious to see specifically how they're trying to say you have a disorder with the personality and I'm assuming it's a singular, or is it multiple personality that they're talking about?
No, and I feel like, again, I appreciate all your time, and I want to, make this as relevant to your full audience. I didn't want to initially, hire you for an hour for this to get to see if we could connect.
Yeah,
But
sure.
what I hear you saying is you'd be interested in, and I could prepare my records and then, be more concise with the information. Correct?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah, go
If
ahead.
you could give me some time, to do that, and so tomorrow I won't call. I'll get together the documentation, and I would prefer, right, for your clients. I mean, we're safer retaining you, like paying a fee.
Mhm.
So we're protected under client attorney privilege, right?
Correct. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then can you practice in other states besides Florida?
Yeah, I have claimants, I think, in every state at this point, including
Great.
all the possessions as well. So, yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. And then going back for all that's listening, what about if at least for veterans, if we stop our care with the VA, are we at risk of losing our benefits?
So here's the tricky part with that. The VA likes to see VA medical physicians giving opinions, but the VA physicians are limited in a lot of ways. That's a whole video in itself. You're talking about one specific one where there's potential bias against PTSD, which everyone knows. Everyone knows the VA physicians, steer away from that in any way possible that they can. So
Right.
getting a diagnostic impression of PTSD is very, very rare, and you've got to fight for it just to keep it ongoing. So bottom line is this: you can have alternative doctors, you can have outside sources. The best thing you can do is basically getting your letters on the SSA side, which is the side you're kind of going to be going into, are residual functional capacity letters or physician statements that basically outline what your impairment limits your abilities with. So like your walking, standing, pushing, pulling, remembering, focusing, concentrating, completing of tasks, following instructions. So getting one of those completed outside of the VA, because these VA doctors do not want to fill out letters. They just don't. So,
Yeah.
Getting doctors outside of that to complete that, that's fine. The VA has to recognize all medical documentation. And the VA is required, they have like a bunch of these extra little things that they're required to do for veterans that they don't have to do for Social Security recipients on the SSA side for civilians. So, yes, you can go ahead and not utilize the VA and still collect medical documentation. Does the VA like to see their doctors making medical reports? Yes, because their medical reports are usually more specific to the statutes of what the VA is looking for in an actual, report. Whereas doctors, okay, so to give you an example, if you were to go to a behavioral center, right, outside of the VA, they're going to write things in more of a way that is based off of a residual functional capacity of limitations that the SSA is looking for. Whereas the VA writes a little bit differently because their system uses different like checks and balances. So is it good to go to both? Yeah, that's the big goal. Is it good to have specialists directly outside of the VA? That's the best. That's like the graba. You want to have a specialist that fills out an RFC outlining your limitations to show either marked or extreme with those limitations. Marked is, of course, severe. So mild, moderate, marked, or severe, and extreme.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. And I'll follow up with you definitely when I can kind of provide more info for you.
Yeah, no worries. Sounds good, madam. You have a wonderful, wonderful day or night, and I will catch you a little bit later,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, we're going to do one more call. And the reason why is I'm super tired. I was up until that 5 o'clock and it just whooped me because, I'm at the age now where I don't bounce back. Like when I fall, I don't get back up. I like sit there in a huddled ball thinking, did I break something? And that's what it was like when I woke up after falling asleep at 5 and waking up at like 8 something. So, huddled ball effect. Anyways, I'm going to count it down. We're going to count it down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. One, no additional calls. Guys, that was an amazing show. I had a wonderful, wonderful time. I'm so glad that we got to do this show. I'm super duper tired. I have to go to the post office to mail off some initials. Please remember to take care of your fellow disabled individuals. I know I see that it's ringing right now. I'm just, oh God, the whole thing fell. It just broke. It broke off. We can't continue. It broke. There's no way we can continue. Anyways, I will catch you guys later. My apologies for not taking this call. I'm just super tired. The studio, it fell apart. There's no way we can continue. So I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful night. Please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. If you want to leave a review, that's totally fine. You would go to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. And basically, you'd be able to leave a review right there. I love waking up to those 5 stars, but you can leave whatever review you want. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And we will go from there. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. And we'll go from there. And it's not totally fixed. So we won't be able to make it tonight. All right, I'll catch you later. Have fun. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.